I ignored my father's last phone call. And for a long time, I told myself it didn't matter. Because by then, we barely spoke anyway. The call came in at 11:42 p.m. I remember because I was still at my desk, staring at a screen, pretending to work while scrolling through things I didn't care about. His name lit up my phone. Dad. I stared at it for a few seconds, long enough to make a decision, short enough to pretend it wasn't one. I let it ring. Then it stopped. A minute later, a message came through. Call me when you can. That was it. No urgency, no explanation. Just normal. So I told myself it wasn't important. I didn't call him back that night, or the next day, or the day after that. By the time I finally did, it was too late. My father wasn't an easy man to understand. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't abusive. He just didn't know how to show love. Growing up, I can't remember a single time he said, "I'm proud of you." Not once. But I can remember every time he told me I could have done better. "Why didn't you get an A? You should have tried harder. That's not good enough." He wasn't loud about it. That would have been easier to deal with. He was quiet, calm, certain. And somehow, that made it worse. Because it never felt like anger. It felt like disappointment. And disappointment lingers. My mom used to say, "That's just how he is." Like that explained everything. Like that made it okay. Maybe it did, for her. But for me, it just felt like I was always being measured against something I could never see. I stopped trying to impress him after a while. Not consciously, not in a dramatic way, just slowly. Like giving up on a game you realize you're never going to win. I did fine in life, got a decent job, moved out, built something for myself. But none of it felt like something I wanted to share with him, because I already knew what he'd say. "It's good." And then, "What's next?" We talked less as the years went by. Not because of a big fight. Not because of one defining moment. Just distance. Calls became shorter, then less frequent, then optional. Until eventually, they became something we both avoided. The last time I saw him before that call was about 6 months earlier. I went home for a weekend. Not because I wanted to, because I felt like I should. He looked older, not in an obvious way, not like someone who's sick, just slower, like time had started to catch up with him. We sat in the living room, watching TV, not really talking. That was our thing. Silence. At one point, he asked about work. I gave him a simple answer. He nodded, and then said, "You should be aiming higher." I almost laughed. Of course, even now, even after everything, that was still the conversation. I remember standing up, grabbing my keys. "I have to go," I said. He looked at me like he wanted to say something else, but didn't. "Drive safe," he said. That was the last thing he ever said to me in person. And somehow, it felt exactly like every other goodbye we'd ever had. Unfinished. After that, we didn't talk much. A few missed calls here and there, short messages, nothing real. Until that night, 11:42 p.m., his last call. 3 days later, my mom called me. Her voice sounded different. Not emotional, not crying, just quiet. "He's in the hospital," she said. My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "He collapsed," she said. "They're not sure yet." I drove there immediately. The entire time, I kept thinking about that missed call. Not in a dramatic way, just in the background. Like something unfinished, something I could still fix. I told myself I'd talk to him, that I'd call him out on everything, that I'd finally say all the things I'd been holding in for years, that we'd figure it out, that there was still time. There wasn't. By the time I got there, he was unconscious. Machines, beeping sounds, cold lighting. He looked smaller. That's the first thing I noticed. Not weaker, not broken, just smaller. Like the version of him I had built in my head for years didn't fit the man lying in that bed anymore. I stood there for a long time, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say. Because suddenly, all the anger I had carried for years didn't feel important anymore. I just wanted him to wake up. That's it. Just one conversation, one real one, something we never had. But he didn't wake up. Not that day, not the next. And then, he was gone. Just like that. No closure, no explanation, no chance to fix anything. At the funeral, people said things I didn't recognize. He was a good man. He cared a lot about his family. He was proud of you, you know. That last one, I almost rejected it, because it didn't match the version of him I knew. But then my mom handed me something, a small box. "He wanted you to have this," she said. I didn't open it right away. I didn't want to feel anything yet, because once you start, you can't stop. But later that night, alone in my apartment, I did. Inside was a stack of old papers, report cards, certificates, photos, things I didn't even know he kept. I flipped through them slowly, each one a piece of my life, moments I had forgotten, moments I thought didn't matter. But he kept them, every single one. At the bottom of the box, there was a letter, my name on it, handwritten. I stared at it for a long time, because something about it felt heavier than everything else. I opened it. "I don't know how to say this in person." That was the first line. Of course it was. I've never been good at that. I sat down, because suddenly I couldn't stand anymore. "I know you think I've always been hard on you. You're not wrong. But it was never because you weren't enough. It was because I saw how much you could be." My hands started shaking. "I didn't know how to tell you I was proud." My father never said it to me either. And somewhere along the way, I became the same kind of man. I had to stop, because everything I thought I knew was starting to shift. I watched you build your life. I saw the way you handled things, the way you didn't give up. I wanted to say something many times, but I didn't know how to start. And after a while, it felt too late. Tears blurred the page. "I called you the other night. I just wanted to hear your voice. Maybe try again." That line broke me, because I remembered. 11:42 p.m., the call I ignored. "I'm proud of you." It was written so simply, like it was never meant to be complicated. I always have been. I just didn't know how to show it. I don't remember how long I sat there, holding that letter, reading the same lines over and over again, because I had spent my entire life thinking I wasn't enough for him, and he had spent his thinking he failed to show me I was. Two people standing on opposite sides of the same misunderstanding for years, and neither of us knew how to cross it. It's been a long time since then. I still think about that call. Not every day, but enough. Enough to know that sometimes it's not the big moments that stay with you. It's the small ones. The ones you think you can come back to later. The ones you think will always be there. Until they're not. If I could go back, I wouldn't change everything. I wouldn't try to fix the past. I'd just do one thing differently. I'd pick up the phone.